Hey everyone, this is Nitro. In this video, I want to do my second and potentially last video on Arc the Lad R due to really a lack of time to play the game. It does seem quite interesting, but unfortunately my lack of time makes it very difficult for me to play a second game right now. Nonetheless, what I want to talk about is just address a few things about the game and talk about the current characters that are available at this time. First of all, there's been a lot of comments that this game shut down in Japan very recently. That's true. The game ran from 2018 to 2011. So that's basically a 3-year run. When you think about it, a 3-year run for any kind of mobile game is quite long. I mean, how many people keep playing the same mobile game for 3+ years, right? But play the game with that in mind. If you're assume that there's going to be a 3-year period for the game to be available. So if you're the type like me who only plays games for 1 or 2 years generally, then that would be fine. If you play games for 3+ years, then this might not be the game for you. Second, in the video description, I'll have I'll have the 4 codes to the game that are currently available at this time. So if you're starting the game pretty recently, you can use those codes and yeah, just refer to the video description for them. And third, I wanted to go over some details about the characters, why star levels are important, and which characters are good, because I mentioned the good characters in my reroll guide video, but didn't go into detail why. First of all, star levels affects quite a few things. The first thing is it affects their maximum level cap. For example, at 3 stars, the character is capped at level 30. At 4 stars, the character is capped at level 40. And then at 5 stars, the character caps at level 50. You can only have 1 copy of each of these characters, so if you get a duplicate of them, then you're going to get either the character at the upgraded star level, or you can get shards of the character. And third, the thing about star levels is it adds additional active skills and auto skills to them. So for example, my Changera at 3 stars is actually missing his best skill. So I'll talk about Changera later. So yeah, basically the higher the star level, the more skills and abilities that they get. So generally speaking, you want to get the characters at 5 stars if you're going to use them, although 4 stars will seem to give them all the critical skills that they have. So you're going to want the characters that you want to use at 4 or 5 stars, long story short. And finally, the thing though is, even if you got the character at a lowest star level, it is possible to upgrade them via the upgrade process. So if I click on upgrade, it says get upgrade materials to upgrade your characters. Material quests are available at regular intervals each week, and there's a chance of critical success with 1.5 times experience, and choose the right materials to upgrade the characters or whatever. Right? So if I click on this character, for example, oh no, sorry, this is the upgrade screen. Evolve. Sorry about that. So evolution materials to evolve the characters. So in the evolve screen, if I click on this character, you can see that I can evolve the character up. It just needs me to farm up, let's say 64 of these shards and 32 of these shards. And then if I click on, let's say, a 4-star character, it needs more materials. So 60 of the redstones, 90 of the redstone 3, and then 4 of these mystery stones. So you can see that over time, you can get the characters started up as long as you have a copy of them. So now with all that mentioned, let's talk about the good characters that I consider top tier. First of all, because this game gives you extra damage to the enemies if you attack them in the rear, and extra damage if you attack them on the sides, so it's a much harder game to stay in formation than a lot of the other ones. So a lot of the skills that buff allies, for example, within range can be difficult to use. So you generally just want the most powerful characters possible, and that would be characters like ELC. For example, ELC, he is a top tier AoE attacker because he has very, very high attack, and both of his active skills are AoE skills. In fact, one of them has 195% attack to all enemies in range, which is probably one of the highest values, period. So that's why ELC is really, really good. 2 really good skills that are both AoE strengths. Next, Ria is also really top tier because her skill has up to 5 range. It's actually a cross shape too. But you can see that due to the extreme long range, she just can attack enemies that are very, very far away from her. So it does less damage than, let's say, ELC skills, but this range is crazy. The third character that is quite good is, let's say, Homura, who is the tank. Let me see if I can find her. Right here. Okay. So Homura, she's a good character primarily because of her shimmer skill. She can raise the physical defense and magic defense of allies in range within 2 rings of her by 40. So that auto skill quite helps, and she does a decent amount of damage. I think she's more of a single target striker, but the combination of buffing allies and providing good damage output makes her a good character. The next character to talk about would be, let's say, the 2 healers. So the 2 best healers available right now are Lieza and Shantae. So they do serve slightly different roles. Lieza's auto cure has a 2-ring radius around her and heals for 70% of her attack. She also has like a Ravish skill that has a 75% chance of turning small enemy units into allies, and Spinster, which does 150% of her attack to enemies within the surrounding blocks of her. Important to note though, her attack value is fairly low, 120 at level 1 at 5 stars. By comparison, Shantae has 175 attack at level 1, so her attack value is significantly higher. Her auto cure is 1 ring around her for 55% of her attack. So due to the attack difference, it's still roughly the same amount of healing, but her healing is a smaller radius. But however, she makes up for this by having this Diamond Dust AoE skill. 150% of attack to enemies in range, the 3x3 square ahead of her. So in other words, you can say Shantae is more of a damage dealer hybrid than Lieza, but they're both really considered the top tier healers. Next is Nao. So Nao is generally considered just for the early game stages, and it's because her 2 attack skills are both single target strikes, and they only do 105% of attack and damage. What she does have though is this Morale Break. Reduces the attack of enemies in range by 40%. So this is a huge attack debuff on the enemies. So for very difficult fights against enemies with very high attack, this Morale Break can make her really, really good. So that's what I imagine there's better replacements for her later on, and that's why she fades away. But in the early game stages, Nao is quite good. And the last character I said was really, really good was Changera, who, as I already mentioned, actually does not have his optimal skill right now. So I switched to another alt account that does have a 4-star Changera, and the reason Changera is good is because of the Changera Bomb. This has an incredibly big radius. It actually goes 5 tiles, kind of like Ria, and it deals 165% of attack to random targets in range 1 to 5 times. So this is basically a really, really powerful AoE, in other words. And this is what makes Changera good, because he is a great AoE attacker as well. So he also does have like a weak point skill that can raise the crit chance of allies within range by 20%, but as I previously mentioned, it's kind of hard to stay within 1 block of each other in this game, so keep that in mind. He is primarily an AoE attacker that's quite nasty as well. And finally, as for what I consider to be an ideal lineup, it would be something like this. I mean, if you can reroll for something amazing like this, that would be absolutely crazy. But you want ELC because he is the highest damage AoE attacker right now. Changera can add the second AoE. My Changera is 3 stars, so he's missing that skill, but he can add a second AoE skill. Shantae would be a good dedicated healer with, let's say, AoE as well. Of course, you can always use Lieza as your healer. Homura is the tank, buffing up all the allies, so she should definitely be in the party. And then finally, I would like to have Ria for another high damage, long range AoE. So that's what I consider to the absolute optimal party, but once again, I don't imagine you would get all of them at 5 stars. And truthfully speaking, raising up characters to 5 stars just takes time. Right? So as long as you have the characters, you can build them up. But ideally, have, let's say, 2 or 3 characters who are already at 5 stars, so that the last 2 you can slowly build up. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you found this information useful to you. And on that note, Nitro ends.